Hi, this is Zach with HVACdirect.com and we're back for another video. Today we're going to talk about furnaces. Specifically, why isn't my furnace working? Maybe it's not coming on at all, or maybe it's just blowing cold air. Either way, we got to get that fixed. Today we're going to talk about the 11 most common reasons or parts in a furnace that will stop it from operating properly. We'll walk you through and let you know what your service technician should be checking whenever your furnace isn't working. Step number one is to check the thermostat. And this is actually something that we would encourage homeowners to do themselves before calling out their licensed service technician. If your furnace is not turning on or blowing cold air, go to your thermostat and check these few simple things. One, make sure you're in heating mode. Most thermostats will have a cool setting, an off setting, and a heat setting. If you're in the cool setting, but you've turned the temperature up above the room temperature, the furnace still will not turn on. You do have to be in the heat setting for the furnace to actually operate. If you're in the heat setting and the set point is above the room temperature and the thermostat says heat or something similar, some will have a little flame or a little symbol that indicates that it should be heating, that means that your thermostat is telling the furnace to turn on. If you've done that, also check for batteries. Even if your thermostat is hardwired and draws its power from the furnace, when I was in the field, I would see corroded batteries that the homeowner completely forgot about left in the thermostat that were causing some problems. And of course, I do want to mention, if the thermostat screen is just blank or not on at all, that could also be the problem. But if you walk over to the thermostat and the screen's on, you're in heat mode, the set point is above the room temperature, and you don't have any old or corroded batteries, then there really isn't too many problems at the thermostat that you'd be able to figure out without getting a service technician involved. The next most common thing that could cause your furnace not to work properly, or I should say step number two, is the circuit board itself. There could be issues with the circuit board where the furnace does not know it needs to be running. This is not a step that we would recommend a homeowner looking at, as you do have to take the door off and you do need to be working on a system that could be live with voltage. But make sure when your service technician is out at your house, if the thermostat is good, they go down to the furnace and they check the circuit board. After the furnace gets the signal to turn on, the first thing it should do is start the inducer motor. The inducer motor is a motor that pulls the flue gases through your heat exchanger and exhausts them outside. If you don't see the inducer motor spinning, that's a problem, and that could be why the system is not operating. There are more checks that your service technician can do to make sure that the inducer motor is actually pulling enough negative pressure, but we would recommend leaving that to the professionals. After your inducer motor turns on, your furnace is going to check the safeties. There's three main safeties that the furnace is going to check: a pressure switch, a limit switch, and a flame rollout switch. All three of these safeties must be closed in order for the furnace to operate. Now, once again, we would only recommend a licensed professional checking these, as these safeties are there for a reason. They're there to keep you safe. Please note, you never want to bypass a safety. If you bypass a safety, you may be putting you or your family at risk, and we don't want that. But you do want to make sure when your service technician comes out that they check those three safeties: the pressure switch, the limit switch, and the flame rollout. If you've got to that point where your service technician has arrived, they've checked the circuit board, the inducer motor is running, and all the safeties are closed, it's time to move on to the next step. At that point, the next thing that should happen is your hot surface igniter should glow orange. This one, we don't want you to check, but you can look to see. If you don't see an orange glow, that means the hot surface igniter is not operating. Now, sometimes it can glow orange and not be working, and once again, your technician should check that. After the igniter glows orange, the next thing that should happen is your gas valve should open. Now, once again, we do not recommend the homeowner checking the gas valve, as it could be dangerous when you operate it or you check it. You could cause a leak to occur. But one thing you can listen for is when the gas valve operates, you should hear a click and then you should hear gas come out. If you don't hear the click or you don't hear gas come out, the problem may be the gas valve. But once again, we would recommend that you have a licensed technician check that for you. After the gas valve opens, we should have combustion. You have a heat source, which is your hot surface igniter, and you have gas, so you should see flames. Now remember, most furnaces have a little sight glass you can look through. We do not recommend taking the door off. Leave the door on, let your HVAC technician take the door off. but you can look through the sight glass, and that's how you would know if the igniter is glowing orange and how you would know if you have combustion. Now, after combustion, there's a device called a flame sensor, which is there to prove that we have a flame. That's another safety device. We don't want to just dump gas into your furnace without burning it. If you've made it to this point and you see a flame and the flame's only on for about 2 to 3 seconds and then it shuts off, it very well may be that the flame sensor has gone bad. Once again, your service technician should know how to check that and see if it just simply needs cleaned. After that, the next thing that'll happen is there'll be a slight delay, and this is to let the heat exchanger warm up. Once the heat exchanger warms up, your blower motor should turn on. If your blower motor doesn't turn on, your system could be overheating, and that may be the reason why your system's not operating. And of course, if the motor's not running, you won't move any air throughout the house. So to go over that one more time for you, we'll walk you through the 11 things that you can check, or your service technician should check, depending on the item, if your furnace isn't operating. Number 1, check the thermostat. Number 2, your technician should make sure that the circuit board is getting proper voltage and has no issues. Number 3, your inducer motor should turn on. This is one that you'd be able to visually see. Number 4, 5, and 6 are the safeties, and that would be your pressure switch, your limit switch, and your flame rollout. After your flame rollout, for number 7, you should see the hot surface igniter glow. Once again, please do not take the door off, but you can look through the sight glass and you should see that orange glow. Number 8 is going to be that your gas valve should open. You should be able to hear a click and hear the gas. Number 9 is going to be that we should have combustion. You should see a flame. And then number 10 is the flame sensor. The flame sensor is going to check to verify we actually have that flame. And then the 11th thing to make sure is that your blower motor does come on after typically about a 30 to 60 second delay, but keep in mind it could be longer depending on the settings of your furnace. I'll tell you right now, whenever your furnace is not working, you don't have heat, or you're blowing cold air, it's most likely going to be one of those 11 things that's causing the problem. Now, once you find the problem, of course finding the reason that problem happened can be a little trickier, and that's where your licensed HVAC technician can do that repair. But whenever you don't have heat and your HVAC technician is out checking it, make sure they check all 11 of those things, because if they do that, there's a really good chance they're going to figure out why your furnace isn't working. If I missed a step that you think is important to check when you don't have heat, please let us know in the comments below, because there's always an infinite amount of things that can happen in HVAC, and of course we're just trying to provide you with the 11 most common steps. And please, as always, leave a comment if you have another topic you would like us to cover, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell button so you're notified in the future when we have more videos.